and purpose. Do you understand the Apostle Paul's position as he writes those words in Philippians 2? He had established the church in Philippi. He had agonized and prayed, and taught and prayed. And now he writes, "Make my joy complete." After seeing the fruits of his labor come to maturity in unity in the church and conduct fitting for a Christian, he would have joy as he saw that growing up after he had planted all the seeds in Philippi. After the struggles comes the joy. Hebrews also is not silent on the topic. In chapter 12 and verse 2, it says, "Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God." Jesus, too, knew that if he went through the pain, the trial, death itself, that joy was awaiting him because it would be a mission accomplished. Grace would be extended at all, and he would see people coming into the kingdom, and that would bring joy after the trials. There's a lot of popular notions today that are not true. Real joy does not come from having everything easy and good with no problems. Joy does not come from having everything given to you, as a lot of people would like. But real joy comes in knowing Jesus, in sticking to the task, in investing your life in something eternally significant. And after all the valleys and the hills, when you reach the other side, there is joy unspeakable and full of glory in heaven. There's a second value turned inside out in our text. Pride should be found in trusting God every day more than in the adoration from men. Pride should be found in trusting God every day more than in adoration from men. Now, I have to be honest. When I bought my Toyota Yaris, I was proud. I saw that I could afford it with a little belt tightening, so I bought it. And I was proud. I got it done. And when we purchased our first home, it was a foreclosed home. It had been nice. Now it was abused to some extent, but our friends helped us fix it up. And by the time we finished, I was proud. Look what we did. When I was a junior in high school, I have to say this. I led my high school baseball team in batting average and RBIs, and I was proud of what I did. Sitting at a banquet, also as a junior in high school, my mother looked at me and she said, "We're proud. You're our first son who has been to the honor banquet for those who maintained a certain academic level in school," and she was proud. I was proud too. Look what I did. Now, we ought to be proud in a way when we achieve certain successes in life. But that can also be a problem too, can it? Notice the text again. The brother, in humble circumstances, ought to take pride in his high position. What? What that means, I think, is that the one who is not so well off trusts in God more and is able at the end of the day to say, look how God has sustained me. Look what God has done. Whereas the one who is rich should take pride in his low position because he will pass away like a wild flower. The rich is less apt to say, look what God did, and what he has will fade away anyway because riches are fleeting, here today, gone tomorrow, and you're not taking it with you. Can you look back at your life and say, look what God did? I wouldn't be here without God and what He's done. Mm-hmm. Christians are to take pride in God and what He does, and not so much in what we think we did. Paul speaks to this too in Romans 9:33. See, I lay in Zion a stone that causes men to stumble, and a rock that makes them fall, and the one who trusts in Him will never be put to shame. If we trust in God, we will never, it says, be put to shame. Oh, they may laugh at us at times. They may even throw stones at us at times. But in the end, we win on that great day because we trusted in God, and we will say, look what God did. Interesting. Today we so often take pride in what we have and what we said and what we did and our status. That's how it is most often in life. But James teaches us that we are to take pride in trusting God and seeing what God did and giving God the praise for what He did and is doing in lives in life. The third value, turned inside out, and our text is found in verse 12. The crown is won when we persevere rather than when we give up. Nothing is ever won by giving up, is it? Yet let me paint some pictures of some modern life that I've seen. There's the mother of the 2-year-old who has constantly nagged him to put up his toys before he can have a snack. And this goes on for a while, and finally, Mom puts up the toys, and then the 2-year-old has the snack. Have you ever seen it? And there is the teacher who, realizing her class has all failed the test that she gave last week, and they failed really because no one really studied or worked at it. They failed. And so the teacher finally says, well, it was tough, so I guess I'll throw the test out. And the class wins. When I was in seminary, I didn't finish a paper. I know that's hard to imagine. On time, it was my first year in seminary. I should have known better. But I was busy, of course. And I didn't finish it on time for an elementary counseling class. Last time that ever happened, by the way. I went to my instructor, and I began to explain why. To which he responded, how about all these who stayed up late and got it done? Should I penalize them by giving you equal to what they get? But he was right, wasn't he? He was right. I learned a lesson that day. The race is won by those who do it right and play by the rules and who measure up. We live in a day when you can get away with just about anything. Standards are relaxed, rules are obsolete, and the worker bees man the hive. But James 1:12 tells us, blessed is the man who perseveres under trial, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. The crown is won when we persevere and stick in there to the very end. To the very end. I work with didn't write this in, I'm going to tell you though. I work with a social worker in one of my places, and she grew up in a preacher's home, not a Christian church, but a preacher's home. And she's drifted a long ways away. And she began talking, and we were kind of going back and forth. And she said, "Well, I grew up in a preacher's home." I looked at her and I said, "You know what? It's not how you start; it's how you finish. It's how you finish the race. That is what matters. It's not how you start; it's how you finish the race. Is what matters." The crown is won when we persevere. That may not be popular. That's too hard, they say, but that is how it is if we want to spend eternity in heaven. Revelation 2:10 still says, "Be faithful even to the point of death, and," can you finish it? "I will give you a crown of life." It's how we finish the race. My dear friend James McCowan, who's gone on to be with the Lord, used to preach a sermon, and maybe I've shared this before, but he said, "Looking for a few good men." That's what he was looking for, and he had a sermon that he preached on that whole idea. God is looking for a few good men and women too, who will be faithful and serious for him to the very end, and to them there's a crown of life. Today, as always, it really comes down to this. It is either true or it isn't. One or the other. You either take it for what it says, or you don't. One or the other. You either trust Jesus with your life, or you don't. It's one or the other. I think, I know, I'm going to go with what he says. Will you? Will you? Let's take our chances with him, because after all, he is God over all. And when we take our chances with him, the Bible enumerates many times, we'll be glad we did. It will be worth it all, as the song says, when we see Christ.